Hello, this is Jen from Windrose Fiber Studio. Welcome to part 2 of the Tulip Mandala. Last week we crocheted rounds 1 through 7, and this week we will crochet rounds 8 through 18. Welcome back. Once again, we have our 3 colors, A, B, and C, and a 5mm crochet hook. I've also got scissors and a yarn needle handy, and you might find it helpful to have a stitch marker. I will have links for the exact materials I'm using in the description below. Behind the scenes, I'm crocheting a second mandala, and at the end of part 3, I'll show you how I turn these 2 shapes into a really pretty throw pillow. Okay, so let's jump back in with round 8. You'll turn your work over so the wrong side should be facing you, and working with color A, we're going to join with a slip stitch to any single crochet from round 7. I like to join color A to color A, so I'll be joining into one of these single crochets from the previous round that was worked in color A. To join with a slip stitch, we just insert our hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then pull that loop through the loop on our hook. From this point, we're going to chain 2, and then working into the same stitch, we're going to double crochet 2 together. If this is sounding a little bit familiar, that's good because this is what we did in round 1. We did a cluster round, and that's exactly what we're doing for round 8. So after that first cluster, you skip the next stitch, and then our repeating pattern for this round is to double crochet 3 together in the next stitch and then skip a stitch. You're going to repeat this all the way around. Remember to work a double crochet 3 together. You're going to yarn over, insert your hook into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, and then you yarn over, insert your hook back into that same stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, and then do that a third time. Yarn over, back into the same stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, and then you'll have 4 loops on your hook, and you yarn over and pull through all of those 4 loops on your hook. If you turn your work over, you'll see that the clusters that we're making for round 8 are just like the clusters we made for round 1. So I'm just going to keep on working. I skip a stitch, double crochet 3 together in the next stitch, and here I am at the end of round 8 working my last cluster. We skip that last stitch, and we're going to finish off by working a slip stitch to our first cluster, and then we can cut our working yarn. You can see it's a little bit of a cup shape at the end of this round, and I like to work my way around round 8 and give it just a little bit of a tug and loosen up these stitches, and then when I flip them over, it still has texture, it's still a raised round, and that's really what I'm going for with this project, lots and lots of texture. Here I'm pulling my beginning tail through to the wrong side before I start round 9. For round 9, we're going to be working with color B and with the right side of our work facing. Join with a single crochet to the top of any cluster from round 8. Next, you'll work a single crochet in that same stitch, and then you'll work 3 single crochets in the next cluster. 2 single crochets in the next cluster, and then 3 single crochets in the cluster after that. This is our repeating pattern for round 9, 2 single crochets in the next cluster, then 3 single crochets in the next cluster, and then back to the beginning of that repeat. At the end of round 9, you will have a total of 80 stitches, and we're going to be finishing off this round with an invisible finish off. One little pattern note here, do be careful when you get to that slip stitch from the previous round. It can be easy to accidentally treat that like an extra stitch, and that will throw your stitch count off. So just make sure that at the end of round 9, you have a total of 80 stitches. Here's a look at the work that I just did passing over that slip stitch. And now we're going to time travel a little bit to the end of round 9. This is an invisible finish off round, and we did a lot of this in part 1, but I'm still going to show you the whole process just as a review. We cut our working yarn, pull on that last loop, and then we can thread this loose end onto our yarn needle. We're skipping over the first stitch of the round and going under both threads of the second stitch, and then back through the last stitch of the round through the top between those two threads, and we're also going to pick up that thread that's just behind the back thread. And that just helps to anchor this loose end, and it gives us the appearance of a regular stitch. If you're uncomfortable working an invisible finish off, just finish by slip stitching to your first stitch, and remember to account for that slip knot when you're working your next round. Round 10 is our second tulip round. We're making this with color C, and we're going to join with a slip stitch in any single crochet directly above a cluster. And then we'll chain 2, double crochet 2 together in the same stitch, and then we're going to chain 1, so that's the first half of our tulip, and then going back into that same stitch, we're going to double crochet 3 together. So here is our first large tulip shape. And then we're going to chain 1, skip 3 stitches, and then work a large tulip in the next stitch. So our repeating pattern for round 10 is to double crochet 3 together, chain 1, double crochet 3 together, all in the next stitch, chain 1, and then skip the next 3 stitches. Go back to the beginning of that repeat, and you'll be making large tulips all the way around. At the end of round 10, you'll have a total of 20 large tulips, and we'll finish off this round by slip stitching to our first tulip. After you make your slip stitch, you cut your working yarn and then yarn over and pull it through the loop on your hook. Here's a look at our mandala at the end of round 10. If you recall part 1, you know what's coming next. For round 11, we're back with color A and we're making those leaf shapes. We're going to join with a half double crochet in the center chain 1 space of any large tulip. Yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on your hook. This is a standing half double crochet. Into that same space, you're going to work another half double crochet and then a double crochet, chain 1, and then a double crochet, and then 2 more half double crochets. Continuing on, our next stitch is a double crochet in the middle unworked single crochet from round 9. So we're working in front of round 10 and we're working a double crochet in the middle stitch. Remember, it's a group of 3 single crochets and we're going to work a double crochet in the middle stitch. Next, we're going to go and start our repeat for round 11. In the chain 1 space of the next tulip, you're going to work 2 half double crochets, a double crochet, chain 1, and then another double crochet, and 2 more half double crochets. And then you're going to double crochet in the middle unworked single crochet from round 9. Here's a look at those stitches, and then we're going to go back to the beginning of that repeat, working into the chain 1 space in the center of the next large tulip. Let me work my way through the repeat one more time just to make sure you have it. So you can see that we're repeating the same shape from part 1. And you just continue to work this repeat all the way around. Here we are at the end of round 11, working our last double crochet. Round 11 is completed with an invisible finish off. I just want to take a minute and really appreciate the shape that we've created. At the end of round 11, our Tulip Mandala looks like a large flower. I think this would be a really cute place to stop if you were looking for something like a wall hanging. The piece measures about 9.5 inches or 24 centimeters. I don't have the right size frames in my studio, but you can go to a craft store and buy a wreath frame or a brass ring, or I often see people using embroidery rings to whip stitch a piece on and then hang it on the wall. I think you can only improve on a gallery wall by adding fiber art. It lends that homemade touch, it adds texture, it adds visual interest, it does everything you want a gallery wall to do. I guess that's my plug for adding fiber arts to your home decor, but let's go ahead and jump back into our project. So here we are on round 12. We're going to be working with color B, and we're going to be working behind round 11 and into round 10. We're going to join with a double crochet in any chain 1 space between tulips. To join with a double crochet, you'll work a yarn over and then kind of hold that yarn over in place. Insert your hook into that chain 1 space, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 twice, and there's your standing double crochet. We continue on by working 3 more double crochets in this same space. Now, I think you probably know what's coming. Our next stitch is just like we did in part 1. We're making a wrapped stitch. I'm going to talk you through it as I crochet. Yarn over, insert your hook from back to front through the next chain 1 space and the center space of the tulip just below. Yarn over, pull up a loop, then yarn over, go back into that same space, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, go back in again, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then yarn over, pull through 6 loops, yarn over, pull through 2. So just like part 1, this round is actually exactly like part 1. So our repeating pattern is to work 4 double crochets in the next chain 1 space between tulips. Then you'll create a wrap stitch around the next chain 1 space from round 11 and the center of the tulip below. Then you'll go back to the beginning of the repeat. So all the way around, you're going to go from working those 4 double crochets in the chain 1 space between tulips, and then working the wrap stitch in the chain 1 space that is in the center of the leaf shape and the tulip just below. Here we are finishing off round 12 with the very last wrap stitch of the round. We're going to join with a slip stitch to the first double crochet, and this time do not finish off. We're going to jump right in to round 13. For round 13, we're going to continue with color B, and we're going to slip stitch into the next stitch, and then we're going to slip stitch between the second and third double crochet of this group, and then chain 1. We're going to work kind of loosely this round. Just keep your stitches relaxed and work 2 single crochets in the same space. And then you're going to skip the next 2 double crochets and work 2 single crochets in the top of the next wrap stitch. Now we start our repeating pattern for round 13. You skip the next 2 double crochets. You work 2 single crochets between the second and third double crochet in the next group. Skip the next 2 double crochets and work 2 single crochets in the top of the next wrap stitch. Then back to the beginning of that repeat. Work this repeat all the way around, and I'll meet you at the end of round 13. Here we are at the end of the round, finishing up with 2 single crochets in the last wrap stitch. And now we're going to finish off with an invisible finish off. You should have a total of 80 stitches. This round will curve up just a little bit, but not too much. It should just curve up enough to kind of envelop those leaf shapes. Here's our work in progress at the end of round 13. For round 14, we're going in with color C, but also have color A handy. Now, first I'm going to identify a single crochet that is directly above a wrapped stitch. Here I have one, and I'm going to grab a stitch marker and put a stitch marker in this stitch, and then I'm going to count 3 stitches to the right of that stitch, and I'm going to join with a single crochet. Next, I'm going to work 2 single crochets in the next stitch, and then I'm going to single crochet in the stitch after that, changing to color A with my last yarn over pull through 2. Then using color A, I'm going to single crochet both through the chain 1 space above the wrap stitch and in the next single crochet, changing back to color C with the last yarn over pull through 2. This is just like what we did in round 7. Here is our repeating pattern. We're going to single crochet in the next stitch, working around our color A, we're going to be carrying along our other color with us. Then 2 single crochets in the next stitch, single crochet in the stitch after that. We're going to drop color C and pick up color A, yarn over, pull through 2. Using color A, we're going to work the next stitch, and we're going through that chain 1 space above the wrap stitch in the next single crochet, and then we change back to color C. So this is our repeating pattern, and we're going to continue this all the way around, carrying both colors along the way. Your yarn can get twisted doing this, so you might need to stop every once in a while and untwist those skeins of yarn, but I think it's worth it for the effect of joining those leaf shapes with the same color. I will meet you at the end of round 14. Here we are, ending round 14 with an invisible finish off. You got this, you know what to do, so let's finish off and move on together. So rounds 8 through 14 were very similar to rounds 1 through 7. I sort of think of these two sets as the verses and refrains of this piece. And now, if you'll allow me the music analogy, we're about to head into the bridge. Just when you were probably starting to feel very comfortable and this piece was getting predictable, I'm going to change things up on you, but I think design is so much more interesting when you change things up. So for round 15, working with color A, we're going to join with a single crochet to any color A single crochet, and then we're going to single crochet in the same stitch. Then you'll single crochet in each of the next 4 stitches. And then we begin our repeating pattern. You'll work 2 single crochets in the next stitch and a single crochet in each of the next 4 stitches, and then back to the beginning of that repeat. Continue this all the way around. Round 15 will have a total of 120 stitches, and then we'll finish with an invisible finish off. At the end of round 15, we're measuring at 11 inches or 27.5 centimeters. This would be a good size for a 12-inch pillow form and be nice and fluffy, but we are going to carry on. For round 16, we're working with color B. You can join with a single crochet to any stitch. I kind of like to line mine up to something, so you can see I'm joining just above that wrapped stitch. Double crochet in the same stitch, and then skip a stitch. Our repeating pattern for round 16 is to single crochet in the next stitch, double crochet in the same stitch, and then skip a stitch. So we'll skip this one, and into the next one we're working a single crochet and a double crochet. Skip a stitch, back to the beginning of the repeat. Work this pattern all the way around. We have time traveled to the end of round 16, and I'm working on my very last double crochet, and now it's time to work an invisible finish off. Here's a look at our mandala at the end of round 16. Here we are at round 17, our penultimate round, and with color C, we are going to join with the wrong side facing. Notice I turned the whole piece over, and now we're going to join with a single crochet to any single crochet from the last round. Next, we're going to double crochet 2 together in that same stitch. and then we'll skip the next stitch. The next stitch will be a double crochet. We're going to be working into the single crochets all the way around. And our repeating pattern is to single crochet in the next stitch, work a double crochet 2 together in the same stitch, and skip a stitch. If we take a look at these stitches, they're kind of harkening back to the clusters. If we turn our work over to the right side, you can see that round 16 is pointing in one direction, and then round 17 is pointing in the other, creating almost a zigzag effect and adding a lot of motion or movement to our piece. So let's turn our work back over to the wrong side and carry on with round 17. Here we are coming up to the end of this round. I'm working on my last double crochet 2 together, and then we'll complete this round with an invisible finish off. Here's a look at the completed right side of round 17. Here we are at round 18, the last round we're going to do for part 2 of the Tulip Mandala. With color A and the right side of your work facing, join with a single crochet in any stitch from the last round. And then you're simply going to single crochet in each stitch around. There should be a total of 120 stitches in this round, and we'll complete round 18 with an invisible finish off. It's really nice to finish the day with a simple round of single crochet. And as I'm working this last invisible finish off, let's talk about where we're going from here. At the end of part 3, I'm going to show you how to make a 14-inch throw pillow, and I'm actually only going to be using rounds 1 through 18. So this piece that we have here, you can see that it's measuring about 13 inches in diameter, or 34 centimeters. This is a really good size for a 14-inch round pillow form. You want your fabric to be a little smaller than the pillow form so you get a nice big fluffy pillow. So I am actually going to be making 2 that are this size, rounds 1 through 18, and then showing you how you can finish off 2 mandalas and turn them into a really pretty throw pillow. Now that being said, we are actually going to keep going with the Tulip Mandala because there are a total of 25 rounds in the whole mandala. We've just kind of created the bridge, and now we're going to finish off by going back to the verse and a final refrain. This will give you approximately a 16-inch finished Tulip Mandala that you can use to make a larger throw pillow, a wall hanging, or any way that you envision using a round motif. Please hit like and subscribe so you don't miss part 3 that'll be coming out next Tuesday. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.